All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started. Happy Friday. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Len Thompson, and I am Broadcom's Mainframe Division Community Manager. I want to welcome you to today's Db2 Tools Community Webcast. Before I hand you off to Andy and the rest of the team, just a couple of things I need to go over. First, if you have questions during our webcast today, and we always hope that you do, please use the questions box along the right-hand side of your screen to ask those. We'll get through as many of those as we can during our time together today. If we don't get through everything, if either something requires some research or if we run out of time, although I don't think we'll run out of time today, I will capture your information and hand it off to the team so they can follow up with you. Your lines are all muted because we are recording today's session. The replay will be available either later today or sometime early next week. If you would like a copy of that, feel free to reach out to Andy, myself, or any of our other speakers. We'll make sure that you get that link. And the last thing for me is we want to make sure these webcasts are valuable use of your time. So with that in mind, a short survey is going to pop up at the end of the session. We would love if you could give us some feedback. That's it for me. So take it away, Andy.
Thanks, Len. Welcome, everyone, to our June community update. We had a few events in June, and that ended up pushing this call a little farther into the calendar year. We had our MTE event in Plano, Texas. Hope any of you were there. We hope you had a good time. If you were not able to make it there, we do have a virtual MTE event coming up in October, and we do hope that you'll be able to join us there. Then we, I tried to reschedule because of the MTE event. We tried to reschedule to the end of the month, and we had some technical difficulties last week. So thank you for bearing with us and joining us today. A quick disclaimer, if we talk about anything future planning wise, we do reserve the right to pivot from that plan as needed. Here's a list of my contact information, as well as the other product owners that work on these tools: Jakob, Raba, Srinivasan, and Ison. If you have any questions about any of the products, please do reach out to any of us. We'd be happy to have a conversation with you. And if we can't answer your question directly around the products, we can get you in touch with who can or get you answers. Today's agenda, we have some things for post install, RC Migrator, our DevOps plugin, log analyzer, and our utility suite. So lots of things to show you that we've been working on and delivered. Our delivery items that we're talking about are all packaged and part of the PTF prereq chain for our level set 20.0.08 PTF. So if you're interested in any of these, you can just get the 08 level set PTF and apply that maintenance, and you'll be all set with this maintenance with these features. None of these features require activation of the level set. You just simply have to apply the maintenance and you're good to go. Starting off with post install, I am not Emil or Raba. They couldn't be here today, and so I will be presenting for them. We're going to talk about our UTS conversion of deprecated table spaces in the PTDB database, which is the database where all of our product tables and table spaces exist. I know a lot of customers have been asking about when we are going to convert our product table spaces into UTSs, and so that's what this is for. So we have added steps to our compare and create required Db2 objects steps of post install, and so now single table non-UTS table spaces will be converted into partition by growth table spaces, and all tables in multi-table table spaces are moved into individual PBG table spaces. If you want a list of all of the changes that went into this, you can go look at the review installation and related changes section of our documentation and look for the PTDB DDL member changes. That will give you a list of the table space changes. Related to this, for M508 or higher, if you've activated that function level for DB212, the conversion of the multi-table table spaces will actually take advantage of the alter table space move table statement and an online reorg. If you are not active at function level 508, then we will do an unload, drop, create, and load process to make this conversion. Something that you do need to know is that you need extended addressability in order to support the multi-table segmented table spaces. The reason for that is the move, alter table space, move table statement requires that the new table spaces be max partition 1. And in order to make sure that we move and support all the data that needs to be moved over into the new table space, we are using 64 gig DS size. So that's why we had to do extended addressability. So please make sure that you also have this PTF applied, and read through all of the hold data and make sure that you are extended addressability related ready in the PTSG stow group. It is clearly defined and outlined in the hold data, and I believe the work you can do a manual alter stow group PTSG data class, and to do that to specify a data class with extended addressability. Any questions? As noted here, level set 20.0.08 plus this additional PTF, that honestly should be pulled in when you get level set 20.0.08, because this is a resolving PTF to a PTF that was put in error that's pulled in as part of the prereq chain. So that should all come in when you grab 10.3.1.3 as part of its prereqs and resolving PTFs. Do we have any questions around our conversion of our non-UTS table spaces into UTS?
No questions at this point, Andy.
Okay, well, hopefully you guys will all appreciate and take advantage of those changes. Those changes don't go into effect until you run the compare steps, so you have some control over when those conversions happen. With that, we'll move on to cleanup of obsolete PTDB objects. And Jan, I will turn it over to your presentation. Jan, I think you're muted.
Okay. Yes, okay. So I will do the live demo. Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Jan Kachin, and I'm the member of the development team who prepared this enhancement for you. And I will show you the demo, how you can use this feature. This feature, the reason for this is that as the alt objects, because our products are using the internal tables to store the information, and sometimes these tables are enhanced, altered, and some of them are being replaced with completely new objects. And these old objects were never deleted, and they were accumulating. So we now offer the feature to remove all these obsolete abandoned objects in our PTDB database. And I will show you the demo, how you can achieve this and take advantage of this feature. So I will share my screen.
Let me give you control.
Okay, thank you.
There you go, Jan.
So do you see my TPA?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. So this new enhancement for dropping the obsolete objects from our PTDB database, it's accessible from the post-install tailoring screen that you now see, and it is under the option 3, the catalog customization tasks. That's the place where you apply the DDL changes if there are any introduced, for example, by any PTF. You have to select the subsystems as always on this screen. You can select multiple of them. So I will select one for the demo purposes. And here is the list of the Db2 tasks. And there were added 3 new tasks related to this enhancement. We have separated this process of dropping these obsolete objects into those three steps or phases, just to be on the safe side. So the first step is only a report. It will not change anything in the Db2 catalog. it will only search for our obsolete table spaces and report all the objects which are in these table spaces, so that it displays the report to see everything that is about to be dropped. So that we recommend to review this report to understand what's going to happen, and I will show you the report shortly. And the next step is to stop the table spaces. Before, we think it's better to first stop the table spaces and leave them in this stopped state for a while to be sure that there is no old legacy process in your environment that, for example, would be still using these objects, maybe some old job that copies the data to some test environment or something like that. If the objects are stopped and something still requires them, the objects can be always started. And so we recommend to leave it for a while in this stop to make sure that there is nothing that would still need these table spaces. And the last steps is actual drop, which will go and drop all the table spaces. And I will show you the report, how it looks like. So this is the report. When you generate a task, each task will generate a JCL with single step, which will do what I have described. And this is the report which is generated when you submit the first task. And here you can see all the objects that are supposed to be dropped, find in the Db2 catalog. You see the object type, you see the fully qualified object names. Here you can see the, just for your information, it's not so important, but just for information, the product which the object was originally related to. And one note here is that this feature will drop all the obsolete table spaces regardless the product selection on the post-install panels. And if you look at the first column of the object type, there are these indents to visualize the hierarchy of the dependency tree so that it's clearly visible which object is dependent on which. So you can see that there are some empty table spaces in this example. The table space with table containing some indexes, referential constraints, and some package. They are not dropped, they will be just invalidated as a result of the dropping. And if you look down here, there are these exclamation mark, and these are important because we don't recommend to put any user object into our table spaces, but maybe in those obsolete table spaces that were here a long time, maybe for some reason some objects may be put into those table spaces, and that's what we marked here with this exclamation. Basically, it means that we found some object in our table space that we don't recognize, we don't know what it is, and it might be some of your user tables. So this marked here to highlight them with this exclamation mark, and we recommend to review these objects. So for example, here you can see some table that we don't recognize under this table space, and some view which is referencing those two tables in this table space. And if I at the bottom of the report, you can see the table which summarizes so to understand the scope of the drop, you see the table with always the total numbers of objects that are supposed to be dropped. And these totals are separated into two types. First are the objects, obsolete objects that we identify that are our obsolete objects that we are fine to drop. And there is the second, these are the one which we do not recognize and which might be the user objects which should be reviewed. And these numbers are basically related to these exclamation mark. As you can see here, one unknown table and one unknown view, which corresponds to these entries in the list. And this also one additional note that I would make here is that this first step, which generates the report, also generates the stop tablespace db2 commands and the drop tablespace SQL commands, which are executed with the other steps. So you always have to run the first report, because this report not only that it generates the report, but generates the statements for the input for the other two steps. And that would be end of my demo. And therefore, I would like to ask if there are any questions.
I don't see any questions at this point, so. Yep, I think we can go on, so I'll give control back to Andy.
Okay, great. Great,
Thanks,
thank
John.
you.
Here you go, Andy.
Thanks, John. Yeah, real quick, since nobody else had a question, I will ask this. So with this process, are we going to delete the unrecognized objects as well, the ones that we have flagged with the exclamation point?
Well, this whole process is tablespace driven. So basically, we issue the drop tablespace. We drop the tablespaces, and it will drop all the tables and those indexes and view which are tied to those objects. So yes, it will drop everything regarding those tablespaces.
Thank you.
That is the reason why it's important to review if there are any user objects placed into the tablespaces to review them.
Yep. Okay, appreciate that. Moving on into our RC migrator enhancements. Srini?
Thank you. Thanks, Andy. By the way, very nice presentation, Jan. Hello, all. My name is Srinivas Adupa. You could call me as Srini, and I am the product owner for Db2 admin suite of products, under Db2 tools. And today I came here to talk about one of the new enhancement that we have added to RC Migrator. One of the internal component of RC Migrator move analysis, which is also called as RC merger. And the enhancement is it has started supporting PBR2, which is page number by range. Yep. The PBR relative page numbering table spaces, recently. So in order to get into that, can we get on to the next page, please, Andy? Right. Yeah, so migration of PBR2 objects using move analysis, right? So when we try to migrate any sort of PBR2 table spaces, which are, also called as relative page numbering range partition table spaces, right? By RC merger process, basically that is going to save us huge amount of time, and also the manual steps that are required. And also, it's also going to eliminate the unload and load kind of processing, which is, going to be a kind of great saving for us. And, when I say like, yeah, we are going to eliminate the unload and load, which is the traditional process, we are just going to extract the data by page from source data set, source LDS VSAM data set to the target VSAM data sets itself, and that itself is going to be saving huge amount of time. And I have a screenshot of how much savings that it is going to give us in the further screenshots, right? Next page, please. So at the moment, right, when I say like, okay, we have started supporting PBR2 table spaces, right? The first question that will be coming into the mind is that, okay, now you have started supporting PBR2 objects. How about the remaining type of table spaces, right? The answer is that yes, those are already supported well before itself. If you could consider segmented ICP, TCP, PBG, and then PBR, the first PBR1 or regular, the range partition objects, everything is already supported, and the only missing part was PBR2 object, which is now supported. So with this enhancement, we would like to call it as, okay, all the type of supported table spaces that could be created at the moment by Db2 are supported by by RC merger, so that you can use migrating PBR2 objects from one region to another region, or one table space to another table space within the same Db2 subsystem. Next page, please. So what exactly are the advantages, and then what kind of internal processes that are traditionally required for migrating the data of one PBR2 object to another PBR2 objects? In reality, what if I want to know that, okay, what exactly that we are doing, which is going to save us the time, and also which is going to save us the money as well, right? So the advantages is that first thing, yeah, it's completely going to copy the data by page, which means you're not going to unload all the data, keep that in the sysrec or the unloaded data set in the internal or even external format, and then you're going to use that extracted data set to the load process, right? So because of that, this is going to be at least 4 times faster. I mean, only with the first step, let's consider that, right? And then second one, yes, since we are extracting the data by page, you do not need to unload the data, which usually unloads the data by row. And then the third one is that CPU and elapsed time savings along with DASD savings. I have a kind of nice screenshot which is going to show us, how much saving that you're going to get. But then at this particular moment, since you're going to extract all the data by page level itself, right? That itself is again, going to save us the data by CPU, right? And then elapsed time also is going to be saved because you are considering one page at a time at least. And then DASD savings, you do not need any sort of internal data sets. When you're unloading the data, yes, you might need, you will need sysrec data set. For RC merger, does that really required? Absolutely no. Then when you're loading the data, you have several other data sets like sysout, another sysdec data set, sysdisk, syserror, all of those internal data sets that are required for load processing. No, nothing else is going to be required for RC merger, just because it is going to copy one page from source data set and then going to dump it into the target data set, and in the quicker way. And then, is this applicable only for the table space level data sets? Absolutely no. It is also going to be helpful. It is also going to work for the index level data sets as well. So because of which you do not need to rebuild any sort of indexes after, when you're trying to migrate the data. And then another very good advantage is that copying the statistics. Copying the statistics functionality was already supported for all the remaining object types except PBR2, just because that functionality was never provided. Now we have enhanced the existing copying statistics facility, which means run stats copying, right? Also, which is going to be applicable even for PBR2 objects as well. And finally, how about my consistency? Yes, consistency is completely going to be given to you, and consistency is still maintained between table spaces, indexes, and all the other auxiliary objects as well. You still have the facility to stop the objects if you wish. You still have the facility to keep the source objects in read-only mode or even read-write mode as well. Everything is currently supported. And yeah, next page, please. Everything is already supported right now, just similar to all other object types. So here are some of the screenshots that I just, that we thought that, okay, it will be better if we show you, so that you can easily understand that. In the first screenshot, right, okay, yeah, the sample screenshot one, the first section of it, if you observe the start of database, the PBR2 demo space name star is going to be started in read-only mode, because I have asked RC merger to start all of my source data sets in the read-only mode, so that I will get the consistent copy. So that I'll get the consistent migration. So since I have asked the source data set to be there in the read-only mode, yes, my RC merger has kept my source data set, my source table space in the read-only mode. And then immediately I was also asking the target table space to be there in the stop status, just because, I will be copying all the data into the target Db2 subsystem itself. So that's been done. And then the second part of the same screenshot is that the data set call, which is going to give you the source underlying first LDS VSAM data set name, right? So that's the internal structure of how the data set is currently saved. And then that's how the data set, that's how, internally we are going to call it as a kind of data set call. and then that's going to read all the data from that particular first data set till the last data set under that particular naming conventions, and then copy all the data to the target DB2 subsystem. Then what if I have 5 data sets under source DB2 subsystem and only 4 data sets in the target DB2 subsystem? That's also has been taken care. The 5th data set is automatically going to be created by the process itself, and then we have already taken care of that one. Then the final part of this particular screenshot is that then once everything has been completed, what else is required for me to do? Okay, you may need to restart your table spaces into read-write mode so that all of your work is completely completed. So that's where the last part of the screen, which is going to start your objects in the read-write status, so that okay, the process is fully completed. Next page, please. Then this is another screenshot of copying the statistics. As I told you, yes, we have also taken care of copying the statistics related data also from source to target objects. Yes, this is one sample screenshot of how the data of DB2 catalog, which is going to be updated by your ID, in case if you have authority. And then this is one of the screenshot of that. Next page, please. And then in the final screenshot, Andy, next page. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Within this particular screenshot, sorry. So this is how the data of the source table space has been copied. So how many pages that was, that were copied, and what's the table space name, and then what are all the data sets that are, that were being copied. And also the same thing is applicable for index level as well. So in this particular thing, yeah, totally 196,031 pages that were copied, and for the table space level. And then the second part of the same screenshot is for the index level data sets. This, both of these two screenshots are the partial level screenshots for you, so that when you are really executing that data, you'll be able to see the entire information, but then just to keep everything in the one page screenshot, we just thought of showing that like this. Next page, please. Right. So one of the sample use case, okay, so right now we are saying that, okay, we are going to save good amount of time for you, but then where are the statistics, or what's the sample use case that we have, done from our side, so that, we are making the statement. Okay. One of the sample use case that we have done is that one of the PBR2 table space with the size of 160 million rows and 16 partitions within that. Each all of these partitions are having some kind of data, and in total we have 43 gig of data together in table space and indexes. This is the sample source table space that we have used for migrating the data of this particular table space from this table space to another table space, and the results are in the next page. Next page, please. So the results are here, right? So since you do not need any sort of unload and load, and then, if you are trying to unload the data, if you are trying to use the unload and load processing, the traditional unload and load processing, yes, you are going to complete that activity, but then it's going to take 32 minutes, 20 seconds, 52 milliseconds. But then the same activity, the same activity has completed within 6 minutes of time, which is the saving of 80% from merger. And then which is the elapsed time. Then when we really come down to the CPU level, yeah, it was taking 1427.06 times, and then now the same activity has completed within 38 CPU seconds, which is the saving of 95% when it really turns down to the CPU usage. And then with the traditional unload and load, how much extra DASD that is required for me to unload and load processing. Okay, traditionally, when you're trying to unload the data from 43 gig of table space, with having different type of data sets, different types of columns that are having different types of data types in that. So on an average, you might need around 250 gig of data, the temporary DASD space that is required for you to, so that you can unload the data, and also that's the same day thing that you are going to use it for loading as well, including all the internal data sets that you're going to use while you're doing unload and load. Then when you're using RC merger, since nothing else is required, the only thing that is required is completely negligible, but then the saving is that 99% of space savings that you're going to get. Even we are trying to consume, even we are trying to save you the temporary DASD that is required for you while migrating the data as well. So yeah, next page, please. So this is all from my side, and it is already released, and the PTF number is LU10313. Any questions, please?
No questions, Srini.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rini. It's good to see RC merger process, including the PBR2s. Appreciate the work from the team.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to the Zoe plugin.
Hello again. Yeah, this is Srinivasa Dupa again. And here, one of the another enhancements that we have, enhanced our Zoe plugins. And okay, again, just before getting into this entire processing, right? When we have released our Zoe Db2 DevOps plugins, initially, one of the first suggestions or requests that we have received is that, hey, I am trying to migrate the data, or I'm trying to use your Zoe plugins, but then the current global changes that are currently supported only for new objects, and then I do not know how to use this, how to apply the global changes for the existing objects. Though there is a kind of way for us, but then that is making the customers to learn heavily or to understand the product internals as well, which has become a kind of challenge from the customer point of view as well. So we have taken care of that one, and then we have made the changes within DB2, within the DevOps Zoe plugin area by making sure that the global changes are going to be applicable for both new and existing objects. And also that is just by making sure that the current processing is also not being disturbed as well, right? So in the next page, okay, sorry, yeah. So with this particular enhancement, right, the DBM data service is updated to include the new JCL template, which in turn mean to say that, okay, since there is a kind of new JCL template, yeah, okay, the existing template, whichever was previously supported, is not negatively impacted. So as a customer, yes, if I am fine with the existing template, you can still use that. And then it is currently limited to apply only the newly created objects that I told you, that's the existing processing. And now the database administrators can apply the automated changes to DDL for all the object types, during the compare and deploy processing, applicable for deploy and compare CLIs and the appropriate REST API endpoints, right? So in the next page, it has some some of the screenshots on what's the newly added template, and what's the default behavior, and then flexibility to use it, right? So the newly added template name is also provided over here, and that's going to be the default behavior, which means the global changes are going to be applicable for new and existing objects. So in case if you wanted to have the existing behavior, you might want to make the changes on the template name in your parameters, and the sample modification screenshot is also provided below, right? So in the next screen, Yeah, so this is the compare endpoint and CLI. Yeah, within compare CLI, for example, how exactly that I can use it. So the sample is that, okay, I'm trying to execute the DBM compare DDL CLI by providing my own DDL with the target DB2 subsystem called as DP11. That's the way that I am comparing. And then the same thing with endpoint as well. Yeah, so I'm just going to make the post request for endpoint, and also in the new behavior, I also gave you the same screenshot as well, both of those two things. And the added, and one point to be noted over here is that the modification parameter, which is the last parameter in the first post sample screenshot of compare endpoint, right? The modification is equals to global changes underscore old. So global changes underscore old is going to refer the previously provided template that's been recently created or added by us to you. So which means, okay, with this particular modification parameters, since that modification parameter is referring to the newly added template, so that template will be considered for your compare processing, and so that so that template itself will make sure that the global changes are going to be applicable for both new and existing objects. In the next page, please. So yeah, this is the same, this is the similar kind of screenshot for deploy endpoint. So the same thing that we were doing just before with the compare DDL CLI, we are also going to do the similar kind of activity with deploy CLI, right? So deploy DDL, I'm going to give my own DDL, and then with the DB2 target DB2 subsystem called as DP11. And then the deploy and sample endpoint, again, as I told you, the same thing. We will be making the we will be making the post request with the host name and port number followed by the other parameters. And the one thing to be noted over here is that the modification parameter that I have just told you, the global changes underscore old, that's the old behavior. And then the new behavior is going to be, by default, it's going to be taking care of with the okay, in other words, the old behavior, in case if you want to have the old behavior, yes, you might want to specify that. But then in case if you want to have the new behavior, yes, you can even make that as a kind of you can simply remove that so that the new behavior will be considered, right? And I'm sorry, that's the same behavior even for compare as well. In the next page. Yeah, so both of these two hyperlinks that has several, very good amount of information with some kind of other use cases as well. So please check it out, and then do let us know if you need any other changes that are to be done, or if you have any other suggestions, from your side with respect to both DBM data service and the template related settings as well, at least the functionality perspective. In the next page. Yeah, so this has been released as part of level set 20.0.08, and the PTF number is also included in this. Any questions, please?
No questions, Srini.
Thank you.
Thanks, Srini. I know that customers, during our development process, our sponsor users were asking for that functionality, so it's good to see that it's there.
Right.
And
yeah. Thank you.
Also, just for users' general information, if you can do a similar processing through the 3270 panels with the main product to get compares to happen, to get the global changes to happen on existing objects, what you need to do is you basically need to do the compare process twice. The first against a dummy mask set, so that it thinks it's new, and that's when all the global changes will happen, and then you can use that modified DDL as your final compare. So that the steps are available through the 3070 as well. We've just packaged it up and bundled it into a CLI for ease of use. Moving on now to Log Analyzer. Jakob, I believe you're up. Sorry, it still says my name on here. I forgot to change that, Jakob.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Jörg Wolfman. I'm a product owner for utilities and backup and recovery suites. I'm going to present you with 4 enhancements that I believe are making the use of our tools more convenient. We're starting with the lock analyzer's timestamp conversion, which is a new small utility within the lock analyzer that enables you to convert lock record sequence number, or simply known as LRSN value, to UTC or local timestamp, or you can convert UTC or local timestamp to an LRSN value. This feature just can pretty much help you reduce the time that it takes to analyze your log data. The service displays the most recent cylinder results, which can be removed with the new clear line command. As you can see in the first top left screenshot, you can access this enhancement through the main PLA panel, lock analyzer panel. It is under option 9. And in the second screenshot, bottom right, you can see the actual conversion panel. You just write the LRSN value or UTC or local time, and to convert supplied values to the corresponding values just below. There's only one caveat associated with the feature, and it's that it's not supported on a non-data sharing subsystems. The reason is because in this case, the RBA is a main identification, not the LRSN. And so if such situation occurs, lock analyzer shows an error message and will not process the request. And that's about this new utility. We can go to the next slide if there's any question.
No questions so far, Jakob.
All right, can move. So now we'll have 3 enhancements for utilities. So we're starting with the removal of a Db2 function level and catalog level checks. We can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So previously, you must have applied PTFs that we had released, and those PTFs unlocked a new Db2 function on catalog level, so our utilities worked. And if the PTF was not applied, the utilities products in a question showed an error with the return code 8, and they stopped. The products in question are those that are listed, so it's fast unload, load, reorg, and index. And so we understood that this was rather inconvenient, and so we updated this process. So we are finally in line with the rest of our Db2 tools, which means that the Db2 utilities have removed the need to apply the PTF to unblock the new Db2 function catalog levels. And other than making it in line with the rest of the portfolio, we believe that this feature makes it a little bit easier for you to upgrade to new Db2 function and catalog levels, beginning with 13 R1 503. Any questions? Please go ahead.
No questions at this point.
All right. So the next enhancement is that it's a new sort utility sort service. Next slide, please. it concerns the fast load, and the fast load has been integrated with the new utility sort service to improve the elapsed time and reduce the CPU consumptions when a sort is performed. The execution of utility sort for fast load can be customized in the new UTLS product Palmlip member. The sample JCL is provided to compare the performance of utility sort with your existing sort service. And we've observed an improvement of up to 50% less CPU time and up to 30% less elapsed time in our tests that were performed in a control lab environment. So obviously the percentage or the results that you will yield may vary, but we believe, and we had some nice feedback from the customers that they really achieved some significant improvements. So that's about this enhancement. All right, the next enhancement is there are actually two enhancements at once. It's we targeted we wanted to make a better processing for PBR table spaces. So we introduced a parallel processing and a fast load. And so the fast load has been enhanced to improve the elapsed time to process PBR table spaces. PBR table spaces are now processed in parallel when a single input data set is in use. And one of the following keywords, which is recluster no sort cluster index, or no sort none, or yes sort cluster index. If either is specified, then you should pretty much observe the improvement of, again, in our lab environments, of up to 70% in elapsed time for PBR table spaces and 20% for other types of table spaces. And then we again improved the fast load parallel processing with another keyword that was kind of missing, which was recluster sort all keyword. And in this case, when the recluster sort all is used, then we've observed the improvement of up to 60% in elapsed time for PBR table spaces and 10% for other types of table spaces when this recluster sort all has been specified. And then again, it's worth noting that we observe these results in a control lab environment. So your mileage may vary, but again, we believe that that you should be able to observe some significant improvement as well. And that's 4 of my features that I wanted to show you today. So any questions?
Still no questions.
All right. In this case, then thank you very much, all.
Thanks, Jakob. It's nice to see the performance enhancements in our utility suite. So in closing, thank you everyone for sticking with us for our June community update call. We are hopeful that you found some value in some of the things that we've added into the products. And again, I will make a call out. We do have our virtual MTE coming up in October. If you search out, Broadcom Technical Exchange or MTE, you will find a link to the website where you can register for that event. I forgot to add it to the slide deck, so I don't have it easily handy. And we look forward to you spending more time with you at that event, as well as our next community update call. Thanks, everyone, and we appreciate your continued involvement in our community. Have a great day.
Have a great day, everybody.